Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Just Jocelyn. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and I thought I'd do my first half of the show on what's the state of New Hampshire? And I mean condition, what's going on? There is just so much going on in this state, and I'm going to do my typical hypocrisy and lies, shiny thing, because that's kind of where my head is right now. So let's start off with, everybody's talking about, we've got elections coming up. We just had the presidential primary this past January. There were several people that were very upset by the Secretary of State and him changing some of the dates. I'm one of them. I have a lawsuit up in the federal court. And I believe, when I read the federal and the state law, that there is a precise date, which happens to be the first Wednesday in June, which precedes a presidential primary, which was this past January, and that previous June. That's how it reads. That's how I interpret it. That's how a lot of people interpret it. We read it as plain text. And it says that if you want to change parties, that you need to do it by the first Wednesday in June. And the Secretary of State extended it to the 7th of October. And I have a problem with that. A lot of people have a problem with that. So we took it to court. We're waiting for an answer. It's our right to question our government, because the bottom line is, we the people are the ones that elected them to represent us. It doesn't mean you make decisions for us. It doesn't mean you tell me what I can do. You don't tell us what's best for us, because quite frankly, to quote little children, you ain't the boss of me. And it's the truth. All power resides within the people, and that's in the Constitution. The state Constitution protects our enumerated rights, and the U.S. Constitution enforces the rights and is a compact with the state. Not with you and me, not with we the people, with the state. Things have gotten very messed up over the decades, but that's kind of where we are right now. That's what we're looking at. So waiting for a decision on that. We had another very interesting event come up. And how do I explain this? The Senate rewrote the election laws. And any changes are supposed to be through the legislature, not the Senate. And they didn't do any of this. And what's even worse, when they rewrote this, which is 15 pages, so it wasn't just a little line change like they told us. We're going to remove a couple of words, which again, we have to vote on. The legislature has to pass it as a law. They buried it in a health bill, which I find very odd. Why would you put voting changes in a health care bill? Maybe because you want to hide something? Because you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing? Let me just read you a couple of little items. They've amended the title of the bill by replacing it with an act. Well, an act is not a law, just so you know. Look it up. They just added page after page after page of citations and words. Things like the ballot shall be printed on colored paper or on plain white paper with a printed color header. Can we just not have paper ballots? You go in on the same day, you show your ID, you vote, you put it in the box, it's hand counted, because that's what the Constitution says. The moderator shall sort and count the votes. Just because you feel and somebody feels that it's way easier for them to shove it through a machine, nobody amended the Constitution of New Hampshire to allow that. So, I'm sorry, town clerks, but the entire country of France and every other country in the world hand counts their their votes. And there's millions of people, so I don't want to hear this whining about, oh my God, we'll be up for 7 nights. Follow the Constitution. Let's see, whatever do we have? Color, party designation. Ballots of all parties shall be on colored paper. Why do we have it on colored paper? Why is it not on white paper? Are you starting to put colors on, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an undeclared? That sounds a bit odd to me. So anybody can say, oh, it's red and throw it in the trash? That never happens, Jocelyn. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Go back and look in 2020. Just all sorts of things. Any town or the mayor or alderman of any city may vote to lease or purchase electronic ballot counting devices approved by the Ballot Law Commission. Well, here's breaking news. The Ballot Law Commission is an administrative committee. They have no authority. They think they do. And whoever created the committee says that they've got authority. But unfortunately, those who don't have the authority cannot delegate authority. You can't give it away to somebody else. You can't tell somebody else they can do X, Y, Z. All right. So look it up. HB as in baby, 154. Yeah. Stuck into the middle of a health bill. Check it out, people. You need to be paying attention. Our legislators are not doing as we instructed. They are not listening to their employer. We are the employers. And if you think I'm wrong, do you pay taxes? Do they take taxes out of your paycheck? Do you pay property taxes? Guess what? It pays for all of them. And they can say, well, I volunteer, I only get $50 a year. Well, guess what? That comes out of our taxes. And oh, by the way, your oath, go back and read that. Go back and read that, people. All right. And on the subject of IDs, came across this really nifty little chart here. When are valid IDs required? Let me read just a few of them to you. Driving, boarding an airplane, purchasing a car, getting car registration, renting a car, renting a boat, renting a jet ski. When you need a valid ID. Buying insurance, buying train tickets, obtaining a passport, picking up mail from FedEx, UPS, or the post office. Renting tools, furniture, or equipment. Visiting a doctor's office, hospital. Getting outpatient testing. Donating blood. Getting a prescription. Buying over-the-counter cold medications like, Sudafed? Can I see a valid driver's license, ID with photo, please? Applying for a professional license, applying for a job, applying for school, getting married. Checking a book out from the library, joining the military, adopting a child. Transacting with the bank, sending a wire transfer, applying for online banking, applying for store credit, establishing a utilities account, a water account, a light account, electric account, cashing a check, getting a credit card, opening a retirement account, applying for a mortgage, buying a house, applying for an apartment rental, renting a hotel room, buying a cell phone, going to court, entering federal buildings, getting a business license, getting a state ID, cashing in a large lottery ticket win, woohoo! Obtaining Medicare, Medicaid, applying for food stamps, applying for welfare, applying for unemployment, using your Social Security services, applying for Section 8 housing, for an H-18 visa or green card, holding a rally or a protest, buying a firearm, adopting a pet, applying for a hunting license, applying for a fishing license, joining a gym, using a pawn shop, buying annual tickets to amusement parks, entering a nightclub, volunteering at a nonprofit organization, voting in a union election, buying cigarettes, buying liquor, visiting a casino, buying an M-rated video game, going to jail, participating in outgoing activities like skydiving, bungee jumping, or participating in political events. When are valid IDs not required? Voting, absentee voting, mail-in voting. No valid voter ID needed. Just saying. Just saying. And back onto the subject of voting, but yeah, I'll save this last one for after that. I just want to touch on how important it is when you're voting that not only do you know what the warrant articles say and what you're voting for, you also need to know the people that are behind those warrant articles. So when I say to Amherst and I say to Merrimack and I say to all the cities and towns that want these multi-million, $80 million, $90 million, $100 million, $120 million schools, boxed camps for kids where you have no say, but your property taxes are taken from you and you're told to shut up and sit down. You need to know the people that are behind it and pushing it, because simply voting down that article and then voting for the exact people that are promoting it, not too smart. So you need to pay attention to the people you're voting for. Ways and Means, budgeting, finance, selectmen, school board. You need to know if they have been promoting certain warrant articles. And if it's a warrant article that you're saying, oh, heck no, I'm not paying any more for my taxes for this. And oh, by the way, I have no say in it. And oh, I don't get anything from it. But then you go and you vote 3 or 4 of these nutcases in who are going to push it again the next year and the next year and the next year. You need to rethink your strategy. You need to pay attention to that. And if you don't know, don't vote. And if you don't know and you want to know, you need to do your homework. And you need to talk to people, because this is destroying town after town after town. They put in these big schools. Your taxes go up $1,500 the first year, $2,000 the next for 5 years. We're talking a $100 million school. For what? Student enrollment is going down everywhere. Yeah, but it's all gone down. And people that are on fixed incomes are having to move out. Well, that's fine. If you can't afford it, get out. Really? I thought this was the United States of America. I thought this was a free country. Just throwing a few thoughts out there for you, everybody. And, how do I want to say this? So it doesn't matter what you believe and who you are, and this, you keep it to yourself. You don't bring it to school. You don't bring it to work. You don't shove it down someone else's throat. If you want to believe that the sky is orange, that's fine, but you can't force me to believe that or accept it or tell you what you want to hear. That's giving up your rights, and no one has the right to push their rights and their beliefs on you. And that's another problem we have now. So just to go back to the machines quickly and voting, we have a problem with the Dominion AccuVote machines. They're old. They were supposed to be a trial basis. We never approved them, but they're old. They're pirating parts from other machines. The software is not supported anymore. And there has been so many repairs and maintenance and, like I said, pirating of parts and being changed from one machine to the other that they are no longer safety certified. They're no longer safety certified by OSHA. And just having some random maintenance guy come in and go, yeah, it looks good to me. You buy a toaster, it has a little yellow tag, a little white tag. It must be safety certified for it to come into your house. Well, these machines are no different. We have a problem, Houston. And buying new ones is not the answer because it's not in the Constitution. And if we want to change the Constitution, then it has to have a 2/3 vote in the legislation, and then we, the people, have to vote whether we want it or not. And it hasn't been changed. So therefore, it stands as it was written. We have another problem. So we have absentee ballots. How come we have unfolded, perfectly flat absentee ballots being put into machines, which they're not supposed to be? Because then it separates them from the envelope. An absentee ballot's supposed to be mailed in. You asked for an absentee ballot because you couldn't be there. There's a plethora of reasons which are unconstitutional. We have administrative committees making up rules and regulations and telling you it's law and it's not. And we're too busy or too lazy to challenge them on it. But absentee ballots coming in, we all need to volunteer and pay attention to what's going on. Several tens of hundreds of thousands come through and they're unfolded. Well, if it was an absentee ballot, you folded it and put it in the envelope. How's it flat? Was there like an ironing fairy that flattened out all the folds or what? Just saying. So we need to be looking at that. The other thing, absentee ballots, I talked about having a proper valid voter ID, and I could hear some of you snarfing and snuffling and laughing. Well, they don't have to show a valid ID. They just call up and say, hey, my dog ate my license. I can't drive. I can't come in and vote. I'm sick. I can't come in and vote. My kids are sick. I can't come in and vote. I need an absentee ballot. Well, there's only 3 valid reasons, and only two make sense. And one is you're out of the country, out of the state because you're in the military or traveling. Should only be military. 2 is that you're severely disabled. In both cases, when you fill out that ballot, it has to be in a secure area. And if you're in the military, your CO is over there watching you fill it out. Not watching you fill it out, but seeing that it was blank, they handed it to you and you filled it out. And they verify your signature. It's called an affidavit. And they make sure that it is properly executed because it's an affidavit. It's a court document. It is a legal binding document. But what happens in absentee ballots nowadays? Benjamin is filling out his absentee ballot in the bathroom. Julie's filling out her absentee ballot in the car. Grandma's filling out her absentee ballot in the bathroom, in the bedroom. And who's making sure that the ballot was clean and not filled out when they got it? Made sure they filled it out, not seeing who they voted for, but making sure that got filled out. And then, did that person take it to a JP, to the town clerk, to a notary, and have their signature verified legally? Because it's supposed to be an affidavit. Well, when they put the religious exemption in, they got rid of that section where it is signed and notarized. So absentee ballots are no longer notarized, so therefore they're no longer legal. They say they are, but how are they? Think about when you go to vote. You drive to wherever it is, you walk into the building, you take out your perfectly valid voter ID with photo, and you hand it to the person, the ballot clerk. The ballot clerk goes through the book, they look for your name, they look at you, they look at the name, they compare the addresses. You state your address, you state what party you're with, we check it off, we hand your license back, we give you the appropriate ballot. You had to show ID. You had to be checked on a pre-approved list. You then had to enter into a secure area that had roped off, that is roped off, that nobody can just wander in and out. You have to go in to that area, into a booth that has curtains. Because it's secret, private. You fill it out, leave your pen. You walk down, still in the secure area, to where the ballot box or illegal, unconstitutional tabulating machines are located. And you put them in the machines or you put it in the box. You want it hand counted, you put it in the box. I suggest you all put them in the box to be hand counted. And you make sure they don't take them out and feed them through the machine when you're not there. And then you leave the secure area after getting your little sticker. Because all that effort warrants a sticker. Go to any other country. You're treated way better than that. Get your oil changed in Japan. You get a free complimentary pedicure, manicure, or body massage for free, complimentary, professional, to get your oil changed. But I digress. We're nothing but debt slaves in this country. We are nothing but people that go to work, pay taxes over and over and over again for the elite, for the government, of which that money does not come back and help us. But again, I digress. So these absentee ballots are a problem. They come, they're delivered, there's no affidavit, there's no one verifying the signature. Oh, but the town hall, blah, blah, blah. Are they handwriting experts? What are they comparing it to? Where's the other signature? Just saying. The absentee ballot is a completely different class of voter. We that vote in person and have to go through all this security and yes ma'am, no ma'am, here's my this, here's my that, which is perfectly fine. But absentee voters don't, and neither do mail-in ballots. That's called discrimination. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. It's very disconcerting. It's very upsetting. We need to watch everything we do. We need to watch everything everybody else does. And if it pertains to our enumerated rights, our God-given rights, not government-given, not school board allotted, not selectmen, here you go, wonderful debt person, just pay your property taxes and shut up. God-given, in New Hampshire, 39 enumerated rights, God-given enumerated rights. And no one can take them from you unless you allow them to, unless you willingly give up your rights. We need to stop doing that because the school board has no authority over you and me. The SAU has no authority over you and me, and certainly not over your children, because the children are your blood, and they're yours. They are your property, and don't be offended by that word. Ask any mother that carried around the children for 9 months if they're not your heart and soul, your blood and guts, and your property. Yeah. So we need to pay attention to Concord. You need to pay attention to your town. You need to pay attention to your city. And you cannot let any of this go. You can't ignore it because your rights are being taken away by others because you're not paying attention, because you don't care. And when it's too late and we're almost there, you're going to be very upset and wonder what happened. And when there are people fighting on your behalf in a courtroom, at a school board, in a deliberative meeting, you all need to show up and you all need to stand up and push back, not physically, push back on these moderators, on these selectmen, on these school boards, and remind them that we are the employer, we pay their salaries, and even if they are volunteer, we're paying for the chairs their little butts are sitting on. We're paying for the tables and the rooms and the carpets and the heating and the electricity that they have their meetings at, where they determine what's best for us because they know better than us. These people need to be fired, and not by the next election. I mean fired for breaking their oaths of office. And this is something we all have to grow a spine and a set of, gentlemen, to do the right thing and hold these people accountable. And they're going to scream and they're going to yell and going to call us things. I've been called a Nazi I don't know how many times. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And I'll get in your face over it, and I'll go up to that microphone. And these people need to be put on notice. You're wrong. You're going to be fired. Knock it off. On that note, I am just going to finish with New Hampshire. Nashua, New Hampshire, that according to the Customs and Border Protection, CBP data, the number of migrants, they're actually invaders, illegally entering the U.S. at the northern border last year was over 12,200 people, which was a 240% spike from 2022. Of those, 70% of these invaders took place along the 295-mile sector, which is New York, New Hampshire, and Vermont. 70% of those illegal crossings at the U.S. southern border are less than those figures. Yeah. Yep. But experts say migrants who make it to Mexico and have the money for a $350 one-way plane ticket from Mexico or Cancun to Montreal or Toronto in Canada know and have caught on to the fact that they're less likely to be caught crossing the northern border. The U.S.-Canadian border is 3 times as long as the Mexican border and ports of entry. They're understaffed. So sorry to be Debbie Downer, but we need to pay attention to everything. Absolutely everything. And where is the governor on this? Where's the legislators on that? Let's give $850,000 to the southern border because we don't have any problems up here. Just saying. Just saying. So to finish, no, you will not be mandating anything to me. Apparently there's some confusion on your part about the relationship we have. Legislators, governor, courts, select people, school board members. You work for me. I'm not your servant nor your slave. I will not be talked down to. I will not be mandated to. I will not be told to shut up and sit down. I will not be forced to do anything against my will. You are my employee. It's not your place. Get it straight. Signed, sincerely, we the people. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have an absolutely fabulous day. But think about your rights. Think about the civics. Teach your children well, and do not ever give up your enumerated rights. Have a great day.